like Miami. Miami, 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 Miami. It feels like Miami.
Welcome to the Heat Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Giancarlo Navas. On this beautiful Monday afternoon, with me today, technological Tiff.
Hey.
What's going on, Tiff?
Just figuring things out.
It's just computers and shit. We got Kenny Spence, co-host of Pre-Gaming. What's up, Kenny?
What's up, man? Trying to figure out this new schedule. And I'm always sick because, like, I posted this morning. Throughout today, the weather went from 63 degrees to 92 degrees. And so Texas is just dumb like that. So I'm always sick. It's just part of my life now. So other than that, I'm good, though.
That Texas weather is harsh, man. I hear it's like Midwest weather.
It's ridiculous.
I hear both. Tiff knows. Tiff grew up in Illinois. Yeah. Tiff knows.
I know.
And
just
it's cold.
Just like Max.
Is Max from where's? Oh, he's from DePaul. Yeah,
somewhere outside of Chicago.
He's from Illinois. I'm gonna work it in.
Yeah, always. The agenda's there. I watched. I believe it was game. Well, I think it was game 5. What was the game that Jimmy sat in the Celtics series that they won? Bam had the great first half, and they like.
I think that was game 5.
That was game 5. I watched that game in Chicago, and I was at a bar, and they're like, oh, Max is from, Max Drews is from here. I go, is he? He went to DePaul. I go, I don't know where DePaul is. All the people got so mad at me. That bar turned, and they all rooted for the Celtics. They're like, how does this Heat fan not know where DePaul is? Like, well, fuck if I know where DePaul is.
You're disrespectful, G.
Listen. I don't know. I'm not much for college basketball also, so I don't know much. But listen, we're covering a professional team. And one of our professional players, and we're going to start here. We're going to start on a positive note today because this season has had a lot of stuff that's not so positive. But what's positive is Dwyane Wade selected to be in the Hall of Fame, not inducted yet. They have to do the ceremony or whatever. But D. Wade is officially a Hall of Famer, unanimous, first ballot. Tiff, you're smiling. That means a lot, man. That's our guy. That is our... He is Miami Heat basketball as much as UD is. I know that a lot of conversations like UD is a persona, and he is. But, man, D-Wade's right there. And it's just a nice thing that we knew was going to happen. But it's always fun to celebrate a guy that's not as just great as a basketball player, but as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, Tiff, I'm joyful.
Listen, so let the secrets be told. I did not grow up watching the Heat. Didn't happen. Couldn't stand Ronnie Cycli and his hair. Like just wasn't here for the. I wasn't
still
here
there.
For that.
Now it's DJing.
Right.
Of course he's DJing.
Exactly. Because what else is he gonna do?
It's Miami.
I grew up. Listen, I'm old. I grew up a Bulls fan, so I enjoyed seeing them smack the shit out of the Heat. Like I enjoyed it. I felt good about it. I loved it in my soul. And then I stopped watching, Jordan retired. Pippen went on a world tour trying to get that elusive ring without Jordan. Rodman just was doing Rodman things. So I did watch for a while, and I'll tell you, someone told me, watch out for this kid at Marquette. So I said, okay, I'll pay a little attention to this. So I watched a little bit. This kid went on a Final Four run. I said, oh, he pretty decent. Okay. Got drafted. So I started watching a Heat game here and there. Wasn't like a full, I wasn't a full Heat fan. Wasn't thrust into it. Actually thought Heat fans were ass, to be honest. So I was like, no,
always have been, baby.
Right. So I didn't get into it. But the more I watched him play, and I'm going to say this, and it could be blasphemous, it could be truth. The more I watched him play, he gave me the feels that I got from 23.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that was watching him hit that shot his rookie year in the playoffs. That was something that said he gonna be somebody. Like you knew in that moment that he just did it turned around, and when he looked, you knew he had it. And I got all the feels that I got when I used to watch Jordan when I was younger, and just kept watching. Still wasn't a Heat fan, was a Wade fan. That's just what happens, like, let's be honest. Never really got on board. I'll be honest. Never really got on board until the year we thought they were going to win and Wade got injured.
05.
That's when I thought, yep. And that's when I thought, okay, I think this is going somewhere. Also, the Bulls were ass. So I just thought, let me just get on a bandwagon that had an open seat.
Get me on. Love for Gennaro Pargo.
Man, Kenny, it was struggle. I kept saying to myself, can I stay a Bulls fan and just like live in misery? Or should I root for Chicago's own, Illinois' own? And so hence to why I root for those Illinois guys.
Kenny.
Oh, man.
I mean, she's right, man. By the way, Choppy Baby says Tiff had it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started watching basketball in 2002, 10 years old. I don't know if we had the time to go over all the insane stuff in the basketball world that was happening during that time. Actually, I will because whatever. So, first of all, that's Allen Iverson's peak, Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, the N1 mixtape tour is at its peak. NBA Street Volume 2 came out.
Yep.
The N1, I said N1 mixtape tour, I think. Mm-hmm. All this stuff is happening at one time, and I'm 10 years old.
Shaq.
And then, just Shaq and Kobe over in LA. Yeah, Shaq and Kobe over in LA. Michael Jordan's final season, that dunk contest between Jason Richardson and Desmond Mason. This all happened in one calendar year, and I'm 10 years old watching this. Remember, I said I'm an N1 mixtape tour fan. So the summer leading into the 03-04 season, the Heat signed Rafer Alston and drafted Dwyane Wade. And I told this story on air before. I wanted TJ Ford in the draft because Eddie Jones was coming off at 18 points a game. I was like, they don't need a shooting guard. I don't get it. And then
Riley wanted
they compared. And then the comparison came up and it said Dwyane Wade is like Steve Francis. I was like, you know what, I'm in. And then the season started and he dunked on Christian Laettner the way he did, and I was like, fuck this. This is my idol. And so from that point on, I watched his whole career. And I mean, it's from the ages of 11 to I think 26. I watched Dwyane Wade play, and so it's a huge deal. And so to see him now being a Hall of Fame, which he better be, it's kind of crazy because I remember that draft night, and I remember creating him on NBA 2K3. So on that night, and so, hey man, it's a huge deal.
Tiff, Kenny and I, we're closer in age than we are to you.
Right.
Like you're a little older.
Right.
We grew up only knowing that. You know what I mean? Like and I've written about this and I've talked about this at length. There's a really special relationship with an athlete when you grow up together. Like my life from being a kid like Kenny at 10 years old. To like literally being an adult and covering the team, like being in the locker room covering him, like that journey that we grew up together, him as a father, his mistakes, his triumphs, like professionally, personally, even today, like him standing up with his wife Gabrielle Union, speaking up for trans kids, at the the NAACP awards or just having this journey like side by side with an athlete, I think is really special. And I think a lot of other kids in Miami can relate to this. Maybe Kenny less so, but like I think for a lot of Hispanic kids that were like first generation, born or first generation American, really, when our parents weren't from here, they don't play basketball in our countries. Like they don't play basketball in Cuba, they don't play basketball in Colombia, right? And they didn't bring that fandom. And I think the people that were here wanted to be American, and they watched football, the Canes, the Dolphins. And the Heat were really an afterthought in this city until Dwyane. And it was really our generation kind of loving basketball through him. Right. And that's why, he walks on water here. Like, people weren't late to his last game. Like, the Heat tried to trick us and tell us that the game started at a different time. And everyone was there early, even though a train broke down on Northwest 8th Street and it was raining. I'll never forget that. His last game. By the way, his last game against Jimmy. I'll never forget that. And then him and Jimmy sitting at the scores table. Shout out to D Wade.
Right.
So love
So-
that guy.
I'm sorry, Tiff. I do want to say it is similar but different story with me and G. Because I'm not Hispanic, but Miami's a football city. We know that. And from my neighborhood alone, Chad Johnson's from there. Antonio Brown's from there. I think Amari Cooper.
What was
I
that
forgot the
tweet you
running
had
back's name.
the other day? You're like, if you didn't go to high school, like if you're from South Florida, like you went to high school with an NFL player.
Yeah, if you're from Northwest Miami-Dade, you went to some school at some point with an NFL player. For me and Frankie, it was T.Y. Hilton. And so, and T.Y. is also like kind of adjacent from the neighborhood.
I went to school with T.Y. Hilton. And
FIU.
college. Yeah, we were in college.
Yeah. But so basketball was kind of an afterthought when I was before Dwyane Wade because football was just so prominent. And we've seen so many people from the neighborhood go to the NFL and just come back. Like, I think Edgerrin James is also – no, Edgerrin James from somewhere more up north, I think. But he used to just be in Liberty City all the time. I don't know why. But so Dwyane Wade, especially when the trade happened, I think I said this on air also, the Heat traded for Shaq, and then 2 weeks later is when Ricky Williams left the NFL.
Yeah.
And so that shift kind of happened right there. And Dwyane Wade was coming off that exciting rookie year. And then they did what they did the next year. And that was also the year Tiff got into it. And then the championship year after. And so it's different, but similar with me and G.
He just changed, Tiff, like he changed the way that this city viewed sports. And like, I don't think that's easy to do.
No, it's interesting because it kind of parallels like I grew up as a kid and like watching Jordan. And like Chicago had a team. They were terrible. I mean, like, man, everybody was terrible. And you know, Chicago was a football town. Like let's call it what
85 Bears, yeah.
The Bears. Chicago had the Bears and everybody else was side pieces.
And probably the Cubs for a while, maybe even still.
Yeah, they had
blasphemous.
I don't do Cubs. I don't do Cubs talk.
Oh, excuse me, I forget the White Sox.
Wait, so I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off. Obviously, you can finish, but for whatever reason, like I dated 3 girls from Chicago in a row, and so like the Cubs are like up north in the suburbs, and like black people don't really like them anyway, right? Yeah, that's exactly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, you got some black fans that like them or whatever. I mean,
but the inner city is Sox.
The inner city is Sox, and I don't root for either one of them. But I get the feeling, like the nostalgic feeling with you guys talking about Wade, like how I felt growing up watching Jordan. Like the Bulls were nothing, and then all of a sudden, here came this guy, and then he just basically took the whole city and said, "Stand on my shoulders."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, and for me as a kid, it was like I never saw somebody play like that. I never saw somebody move like that. The aggression, the way they just went to the hole. And those are the things that I saw in Wade. The aggression, the way that everything was chaos, but it was fluid. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
No,
but
absolutely.
Like if you watch Wade, everything looks out of control, but fluid. Like he knows what he's doing. And to me, that's the way Mike looked when I was younger. Everything was just chaos, but he knew how to get to every spot. He knew what he wanted to do before he did it. And it didn't matter what the defenses were doing. Like he could just get there. And I got that same like feeling from Wade once I started watching. And it also kind of, for me personally, because I grew up watching sports and playing sports, so it also kind of renewed that love that I just had for sports overall, because I literally had just stopped watching everything. And then I got back into going to like arenas and, you know, basketball, baseball, football. Like I just started getting back into sports because sports does bond us in a way, you know, especially when you are fans of that team. You root together, you cry together, you bitch together.
We're doing a lot
and
of
it's
that.
things I think we forget. I do think we forget that sometimes like entertainment is one of those things that it should always just bring you together, win or lose. You know, it doesn't need to be like the extra. And I think like for me, meeting like just you guys in general, like had I not started watching Wade, I wouldn't be doing this. Like
It's
I wouldn't be here.
it's community. Like
Mhm.
it's like genuine community. And
Yeah.
I'm in reruns because obviously I've talked about Dwyane so much throughout the 10 years of this podcast, but I think back to a couple moments, but one we'll get into later. The other one is night after Trump got elected. It was Dwyane's first game back in Miami as a Chicago Bull, and the energy in that building was unlike anything I've ever felt. There were a lot of people like straight up crying in that building, and a lot of people that were there obviously were like devastated by the news of that election, myself included. I was with Alex Solana. We were feeling the same in me. And it was like for one last night, that guy brought us all together and gave us something to be happy about, which is like, it's something silly, right? It's just like basketball and he's playing for the other team. But like him going at Justice, him like crying, like waving to the crowd, like Michael Biamonte, like yelling his name, even though he scored for the other team, like if he was a home player. Just, there are a few people that could do that. And that's why he walks on water here. Like there's no athlete like him. There's no Marino's not that. Ricky Williams not that. Michael Irving's not that. Nobody. Alex Troppy Baby's like, I was next to you too. Yes, Alex, you were there too. I'm sorry. We were there. We were all there together.
Troppy erasure.
Yeah, Troppy Baby erasure. So listen, this man, like Jordan, I feel is like a cultural experience for a city. Like Dwyane has always talked about like more than an athlete, and I think that every personal story that the three of us has told kind of just shows like how these people are bigger than their sport and their persona, like how it drives community and love and so many things. So I thought it'd be fun if we go through like our little favorite like D Wade moment. Each of us, we could talk about it a little bit. Give a little personal spin. And we can show video and stuff. So let's
Yeah, so this right here, we should probably mention what it is because we have an audio audience, but this is the moment where Dwyane Wade got his lip busted and then Al Harrington ran him over and then he went on to score 24 points in the fourth quarter. This was a big deal to me, not because it was against the Knicks, because to be honest, like I'm at an age where just like the Knicks never mattered to me. Like that rivalry was over with and they were just never good. So I liked Stephon Marbury. I liked Nate Robinson. That rivalry was just never a thing to me. But just seeing these moments like this and how common it was for Dwyane to take these games over. And this was the year where he should have won MVP, but that's another story. But come back win in the fourth quarter, Dwyane Wade draining threes with a bloody lip, yelling into the crowd. Like, that's just some, like, you don't see that stuff anymore. Players don't really have that kind of attitude anymore. Right. Like if a player today busts his lip, he's going to like whine to the ref and he's going to just like sit out the rest of the game. 6 to 8 weeks. Like they're not putting a bandage on and just like continuing to torch the other team. And so Dwyane Wade was just a rare player. You see dig back there with the braids, great times. But and then Nate Robinson misses the three. But Dwyane had so many of those moments where you could just look at his face and just know the game wasn't over, and it ended up not being over. Look at that stat line: 46, 10, and 8.
That's crazy.
Monster.
Like, man.
Tiff, what do you got for us?
Oh, well, I mean, first of all, this is against the Bulls. when I was just like, I can't watch Ben play no more. I gotta find a new team.
He killer.
Right. But you know what? To me, it personifies everything about him. The defense, the aggression to the offense. Like it's all those things in a matter of seconds. And like I feel like we forget that. Like, yeah, we see the highlights and the dunks and this and that, but we forget this man was like one of the best defenders to ever play the game.
Totally cheated off his man.
Yeah, he did.
He did the Jimmy. He did the Jimmy.
But
Jimmy did the Dwyane, I guess.
Player. There we go. Such a smart player. Like we forget. And I always say this, and people are like, "That's a hot take. It's stupid." I don't think so. If my man had 2 good knees, you'd be saying LeBron who?
Oh,
definitely Kobe who. And I think that's a good point you bring up because not only the knees,
Well,
but right when he was going into
I
his
say that
prime.
all the time, and I
Yeah, but right when he was going into his prime
yeah,
is
no,
when
I
he
say
ended up.
LeBron because
Yeah,
oh, sorry, Kenny. I just say LeBron because it was the whole, because of that draft.
yeah.
That's why I say because of the draft.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up though, because right when he was going into his prime years, what would have been, he teamed up with LeBron and Bosh. And so the numbers ended up not being what they would have been. And then he had the knee issues. So as crazy as it is, third best shooting guard of all time, he never had a prime really.
No.
And so
No.
that's just an amazing thing.
His prime was spent with Jamario Moon.
Man.
And I love
That's,
my
you know what? And I don't even want to really acknowledge the James Harden thing, but this man right here averaged 30 and hated the fact that he had to do that and just wanted to win.
Exactly.
Like there's something different. Like you I don't think we'll ever see something like that again.
I love what
But
Heatside
Kenny-
said 30 in the worst pace possible. People will never understand.
Right.
Yeah.
But look at this. Kenny, you brought up a good point. We talking about Harden. Wade averaged 30 without 100 step backs.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't dribbling the ball out the air, step back,
Or
back,
free throw
crossover
grifting.
three, or free throw grifting. Like that man was like putting his body on the line night in and night out. We forget about that, but like we're not gonna act like James Harden should be in this conversation though.
He shouldn't.
Let's move on.
Mine's not as I don't think mine's as incredible as everyone else's, but it's Dwayne's game winner against Philly, his second game back after coming
That's
back.
what you do.
Yeah.
Scores it over Ben Simmons. You get the switch, you get the Covington, and then switch again. And people might not remember what happened before this game. It was the shooting at Stoneman Douglas, and this was the day. I think this was the day after. And there was a young man, and I've told the story on the pod before. Again, I'm in super reruns. Who was buried in a Dwyane Wade jersey because that's what he meant to the city. And he wrote the young man's name on his shoes. And that's what I mean by like what he means for like community. And that's
right.
It's funny how like this is not as spectacular as the Bulls play or as that Nick performance or as a block on Stoudemire to the heave. It's just old man game coming, and look how happy everybody in the stands are because winning with him was better than winning with anybody else. And he just meant a lot to people here.
Even like obviously because I forgot about the Stoneman Douglas thing. That's a huge deal. But even just in a basketball sense, this was I was actually at his first home game back. This is his second home game back. Also, I don't want this to get lost. This is when Ben Simmons was the All-Star and one of the best defenders in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
So he hits that shot over him, and it's the signature D Wade step back game winning shot.
Yep.
Back in Miami. That's
He's
a
like,
huge deal
I'm
on the
back.
basketball.
I don't know, man. It meant a lot, and I'll never forget that play for the rest of my life. Not only because I hate the Sixers with every fiber of my being, but just what it meant to our community. Like truly, it was a moment of community, and I'll always remember Dwayne more for that than the basketball. There are many.
I'll just say.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll just say one last thing. A regret. I never got to see him play live in Miami. That's a regret.
Oh man.
I mean, I've seen him on the road in various places, but never got to see him play live in Miami.
I never saw the big three in the actual game. I went to an open practice during that time, but my dad did take me and my brother to a Heat versus Sonics game in I think 06.
How long ago was that? I was gonna say.
Yeah, in like 06.
Was Durant there?
No, it was Sonics. It was
But
Ray Allen.
Durant was drafted by the Sonics.
Yeah, but that was
I don't remember when he got
the
drafted.
season after. Well, the summer after the next season. But that was the Ray Allen days. They had Ray Allen.
King Barrios in chat says I'm from Brazil and I went to Miami in 2012 just to watch them. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. It's just crazy, like how much sports means to people, and like they travel to watch these people. Crap says Durant was from 07 to 08. He would be the Seattle sports expert and Seattle traffic expert. So thank you. So yeah, man, we just wanted to give a little, before we get into this season, just kind of talk about a guy. Chat's making fun of me for crying, as they should. A guy that meant a lot to the city and people here, and he's going in as one of ours. So That Cleveland never had. He never played for the Cavs, and he shouldn't have played for the Bulls. We will have to relitigate that. But on to this season, this fun ass season that is not as fun as the memories we just talked about. Miami looks poised to be in the play-in unless Brooklyn has a spectacular collapse. They stave off a Utah Jazz team that tried to help us out, and they win. So I believe their magic number is win one game, and they're in. Miami has a game against Detroit, a game against Philadelphia, and a game against Orlando to close out their season. So we are at the 1 yard line here of this season. And we had a game where things felt a little different on Saturday against the Mavs. And I just mean, and it sparked a lot of discourse, and I just kind of wanted to get into stuff like that. Just Chad is like, can we just keep the Wade talk? Fuck listen, I don't blame you, bro. I want but we have playing stuff to preview. Tiffany, we've talked about this, like, and I want to get Kenny's thoughts on this too. Jimmy's synergy with Cody Zeller is fucking awesome. And it's a late season development thing, but he's so good with guys like him and even Deadman when his back isn't all fucked up. And it just doesn't always look the same with Bam. And that's kind of been the topic of conversation. And I don't know, but I want to get, you are somebody who has a great eye for the game and you've played. Are we making shit up, or is there validity to this, or what's going on?
I mean, I think both of those things are true. I think we're making shit up, and then there is some validity to it. But the validity isn't what I think people think it is. They're different. Bam and Jimmy run at different speeds. Like, that is what it is. Jimmy's more methodical in what he's doing. He paces himself. He's surveying the court. He's doing all these things and looking really old in the process, but looking really good in the process. And Bam just runs at a different speed. Bam and Tyler, I think I said this to you earlier, they run at the same speed, which is 100 miles in running. And big lumbering bigs like a Zeller, like a Deadman, and even Orlando to some extent, they run at Jimmy's pace. So it's easier for Jimmy to get the ball to these guys because they run at his pace. And the other side of it is too, let's just be honest. You're not going to have 100 hands swinging down at Cody Zeller. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not going to be two people coming into the lane to shut down Zeller. So people are going to stay home when they see Cody's in the paint because they feel like whoever's guarding him can handle that one-on-one. When Bam is cutting through or trying to roll, Bam has his man following him. And he also has a guard always that's going to be, because let's be honest, Bam doesn't have the greatest hands. So there's going to always be a guard that's going to be coming through, swiping at the ball, doing all these things. So sometimes the passing lanes aren't as great because also Bam doesn't shoot the three. Love is now starting to find a groove, but the spacing isn't always there for the two of them on the floor. But as we saw the other night, because Bam was out, you had the ability to start Max, who can space the floor. So now you had Max, who could space the floor. You had Jimmy, who all of a sudden is taking at least 2 threes a game. Gabe can space the floor. So you have options, and the floor is just wider. When Bam is there, the floor is shrunk, and they know they can cheat and go in and kind of try to push Bam off the block, or they know even if the ball gets to Bam, because that double comes in, he has to get rid of it. So I think we kind of do both of them, Bam and Jimmy, a disservice when we just sit here and pretend that Jimmy doesn't like Bam, Jimmy doesn't want to pass to Bam. The passes just aren't as clean trying to make that pass when Bam slips or when he rolls to the basket.
I think another factor before we go to Kenny is I really do think that teams like what you said about the help from like the shooting, they do help off corner guys, usually. And I know that Frankie said in chat, Brady mentioned doubling Bam, Caleb is usually the guy in the corner, so the paint's a little cramped.
Mm-hmm.
So they pinch in to help there. And I do think that Jimmy is not a guy who likes to look for his pull-up out of pick and roll. And I think that teams know that. So they kind of drop off of him and tag Bam, giving more time to help. Whereas opposed to Zeller, they play it more straight up, kind of like what you were saying. So, and Jimmy's only shooting 45% from mid-range this season. So it's like good, not great. Right, like it's in the 68th percentile of players. So, he's just really just killing it everywhere else on the floor. But I think that's like a big deal with it. Kenny, do you have like I don't know, man. It just feels weird that like Zeller looks like a fucking roll god, and Bam sometimes it's just like I don't know.
Well, yeah, y'all pretty much hit the nail on the head. Nobody's game planning against Zeller, and so he's going to get those looks when Jimmy goes into the paint. Teams would rather him have that. Bam is going to get doubled for sure, and so that's one of those things where we can't really look at the numbers and say, well, with this lineup, Bam's not whatever. That's just what it is. Like Bam is, I'd pretty comfortably say the third best center in the NBA. And so teams do what they can to stop him. And so when he's out there with Jimmy, who also plays in the same areas, they have very redundant skill sets. And so they end up running into each other anyway. Whereas when you have Zeller's not handling the ball. And so there's more opportunity. Jimmy has the ball. He can be decisive. And another thing, Jimmy I don't know if y'all remember those little bit of games where Jimmy would play with Jovic. And Jimmy would just make this effort to get Jovic the ball. He also just loves doing that with role guys and especially the bigs. He did it with Jovic. That may come from his relationship with Taj Gibson back in Chicago, who he wears number 22 to honor.
I didn't know that.
So yeah. He chose 22 to pay homage to Taj Gibson.
What a shitty guy to give homage to.
No, but Taj was like one of his vets in Chicago, and like he helped him become who he is. I understand it, but yeah, so it's a mixture of those things. It's definitely not an indictment on Bam. It's just the coverage is different. Jimmy just likes getting those types of guys the ball and building that confidence up.
I just think it's like
skill sets.
Yeah,
the skill sets are different. Like Cody's built to like break your neck with a screen and then roll to the basket. Like that's what he's what 48, but that's what he's built to do.
Bam has higher ambitions too.
Yeah, well, I said it's the skill set. Bam is becoming a jack of all trades. Where Cody is, I got 3 things I can do, and I'm mastered all of them. Like that's literally what it is.
It simplifies the game. That's what it is. It simplifies it. With Bam, there's a lot more that he can do and does do. With Zeller, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna drive, just be over there in the dunker spot. I'm gonna dump it off to you, make or miss.
I think the best Bam has ever looked as a roller was at times this season with Tyler as a pick and roll guy, when early in the season, and last year with Lowry in games that Jimmy didn't play, or when Jimmy was off the floor, because they were able to get a really nice balanced floor. And when Lowry was healthy, I thought Miami did a really good job. It wasn't always Lowry giving him the assist, but just the way that they functioned with kind of a real point guard who was healthy. I just thought that he was his most devastating as a roll man. I believe he was like the best roll man in the league by volume last season. I'd have to double check the numbers. This season, I think the shooting has a lot to do with kind of that. But I think Bam not playing last night was probably why the floor was spaced so nice. Same way as that why when Jimmy doesn't play, the floor is spaced so nice. Like I think that just generally like they need their role guys to play well. And credit to Max, I saw a stat that he's shooting really well since
44% since March 6th.
Shout out to Tiff, baby.
That's it. That's it.
They need that. Like if they want to kind of be any kind of significant in the play-in and playoffs, like they need him to play well because he will take a lot of minutes, and then hopefully Duncan. I don't really know where Duncan fits into their life. It sounds like Spo doesn't really want him around unless they need minutes. It is the strangest.
Spo did not say that. Don't be saying.
No, I didn't know. Spo didn't say that. It just I don't know how to. I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of it. Like there are times that Spo's like, get in there, Dunk. Let's see what you can give us, and then like he'll play a whole half. Like doesn't even sit, and then like another night they're shorthanded and he plays 2 minutes.
Well, I mean, but that was the thing the other night. So he got in because they were shorthanded. And he just didn't look as good in the beginning on defense as he did when we were in New York the other night.
Mhm.
Like in New York when he came out and played, he looked good. Like you can't run with Duncan for like 25 minutes, but like in those spurts, you can run with him. And in New
Mhm.
York, he looked good, but the other night against the Mavs, he didn't look good with his shot. And then he got like 3 quick fouls. And I think at that point, you're not coming back.
I wanna
Like
say.
that's just
So Frankie says something in chat. Goran fed him so much. He was so happy to have a center that screened. I never felt that Bam was that kind of threat with Goran because Gogi was a bounce passer, and I don't think Goran was that kind of passer to get bigs going like that, right? Like, despite him being in the Steve Nash tree, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, he started to be.
I
right.
Like
just
towards
felt
the end of
that
it, he started to be.
I felt Gogi was very turnover averse. He was one of the best point guards at not turning the ball over, but as a result, he never really took risks. And I think
Right.
sometimes against good defenses, Bam was not getting the ball. Like Frankie's like in the bubble in the Celtics series, yeah, because they were kind of lobbing the ball over, and Boston was playing super high up, and they only had like these really small wings to kind of help. Because really, at the end of the day, like Marcus Smart's a great defender, but if he's coming to help, it's a win for Bam because he's just bigger than him, right? And I don't think you can maybe get away with Marcus Smart rotating on a center if it's Cody Zeller, but when it's Bam, it's a little bit different. I just never felt that he had that kind of synergy with Goran. Maybe against bad defenses, yeah, but I don't think Goran was that. Goran was like a B level passer. I think against really good defenses as a roll man, I think you want like an A to A plus, right? Which is Dwyane, Kyle last year. I think Kyle's been like a really inaccurate passer this year, and stuff like that. So. Yeah, guys, I just think the conversations are gotten a little strange. I see people turning on Bam on the timeline. I mean, and I feel like, it's very like seasonal with who everybody's mad at. It was like Tyler at some points in the season, when he was kind of struggling a little bit, and like now like he's put like a couple of good games together again and he looks great. Nobody mentions him anymore. Now they focus to Bam. It was Jimmy at one point because it's like, oh, Jimmy ain't trying. You know what I mean? It was Spo at one point, and it just feels like guys, like people move on as to like who they're gonna blame and I just think it's ridiculous. Like I see, man, when Chef Trilly's out here like honest posting about Bam, that's how you've taken the bit too far. Like when Trilly is like, no, wait, guys, no, say psych. Like you've taken it too far.
So for me, I don't read Heat Twitter anymore just because it's.
Frankie's like, I've ejected.
But it's one thing I had to kind of make myself understand is that it's not on fans to know what the fuck they're talking about, really. They're just emotional about this. Like we have the responsibility to kind of try to make things make sense and kind of analyze stuff and figure out why things go in a certain way. But the fans, they just watch the game, and so that's why I don't read it, because it doesn't make sense and it kind of just doesn't. And I probably shouldn't say this in front of Heat fans, but what they think really doesn't fucking matter because they're not really putting much thought into it. And so
it's true. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I just think it's wild to be like,
yeah. But I mean, like at the end of the day, like turning on Bam, like we come on, especially this season, like we know better than that.
Tiff, like why people trading Bam?
And
why they trading Bam.
And just in general,
and it's not even for Luka.
No, first of all, I want to get to that because I'm in the minority when it comes to that. But can I just respond to this mommy's milk? All right, so he had one foul and was a plus 9.
For the pod audience, mommy's milk 14 said Duncan had one foul and he was plus 9 in 2 minutes against the Mavs.
And this is why I don't believe in numbers. Because that plus 9 meant nothing. Like we have to stop being like somebody was plus this or whatever. Like it meant nothing. It was like he was invisible out there. For how many minutes did you say he played?
2.
Like, it doesn't, like those numbers don't matter in 2 minutes. Like it really doesn't matter. Duncan is in and out of the rotation. That's just what it is. And the problem with it is if Duncan could play the 4, he would be in the rotation because he has the height and he has a shot. That's the thing. Duncan can't play the 4. So that is why Duncan is not in the rotation. You've already got how many guards who are all of a sudden playing better. So Tyler's looking better. Max is looking better. Gay's looking better. Kyle is looking better. Who's not playing?
Yeah, and I
Which
think
one of those four you're not playing?
and I think the reality with Duncan is we kind of because and look, I'm the Duncan agenda guy. I was before he got the contract, I was saying pay Duncan Robinson, whatever the fuck it takes, blah blah blah, whatever it is. But I joke about having agendas. I really don't have any. The reality is Duncan's really not shooting that well this season to be like really demanding to be in the rotation. Especially now, you kind of want to narrow your rotation down and figure out what you're going to do going into the play-in and the playoffs. And so anybody who hasn't been in the rotation consistently up until now, you probably shouldn't try them out now. This probably just isn't the time. And so, like Tiff said, with Tyler and Max playing better, Duncan just may have to be the odd man out. And I hate to say that for him, but it's just what it is. It's just the reality at this point.
Right.
Yeah, it just kind of is. I'm looking through like the Heat's 3-point shooting just by individually. Who do you think the two best shooters on the team are by percentage?
Tyler and Caleb.
Jimmy and Caleb.
So you go Jimmy and Caleb. What do you say, Kenny?
I say Tyler and Caleb.
It is Tyler, and it is, I believe, Max. No, it's Caleb by a point.
Yeah.
Tyler and Caleb.
Think how much better Caleb would be shooting if he knew where his foot was.
He's like the Josh. He's like the Josh.
It is crazy. He steps on the line every time.
Yo,
At least it's not out of bounds, guys, because it could be worse.
That's true. That's true.
It could be worse. Let's listen.
That's true.
Well, bird in hand, you know.
But let me just say, I get it, mommy's milk. I get it. But everybody can't play. Like for instance, I honestly felt the last two games they should have played Hamish. They did it.
Yeah. I agree with you, by the way. I'm team play another wing.
Yeah. I think they should have played Hamish, but he's not getting the burn either. They're started to cut down the playoff rotation.
Dog,
the only guy
cut.
He might be the only guy who makes his way into that rotation just because of what you hope he can give you on defense.
Mm-hmm. He's break in case of emergency.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He might be the only one that can get in there.
I think Highsmith can get in there.
I want him in there.
Yeah, he just brings so much on the defensive end.
Right.
You got to give him like 5 minutes, see what he can do.
I don't know.
Like I forgot. I think it may have been a Knicks game where he should have saw some minutes and didn't.
Yeah.
It was the Knicks game, and then it was the I think he should have played in the Dallas game. Yeah, they
definitely should have.
They ended up being fine in the Dallas game. Not that he would have stopped Luka, but like it was clearly a problem on defense. Like they just had no one to put on Luka without Bam switching. You know, I saw that Miami's zone is so good that it would be if they played zone. If their zone defensive rating was, you know, like their whole half-court defensive rating, it'd be the best half-court defense in the league. I saw that he put that out there today. Kind of wondering if we're going to see more of that. Not to branch out another topic, just saying a quick aside. So and last thing I wanted to close on the show with, look at that, we hit topics today. Look at that, organized. I got to thinking, guys. So the Mavs, life's not so good over in Dallas land. You know, they're talking about shutting dudes down. Dallas out their 11th place. They're out of the play-in. They're below the Lakers, who have had the season from hell. They're below the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are still not trying to win basketball games. Like, honestly, they're below the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are like the biggest laughingstock in the league, and the Pelicans, who have been like unhealthy all season. And Dallas is 37-42. They've lost 3 in a row. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They're not a good team. Miami kind of put the nail in their coffin. Guys, if Luka, let's say hypothetically, Luka
I'm out on it.
They say I don't want to be here, and he says I want to go to Miami. So Kenny, you would not want to even.
No, but here's why.
I think you're crazy.
No, well, I'm going to explain it. So, look, despite me being so high on Tyler Hero, that's an exception. I love defensive players. I like defense. Some of my favorite players ever are Draymond, Dennis Rodman, and like Gary Payton. I like defense. That's what really wins. And also, I live in Dallas, and like the hype around Luka is not what y'all would think it is because the way he plays doesn't win. You can't run everything through one person, like every single play, top of the key.
Well, that's what Jimmy's here for.
Yeah, but it's still not going to work.
Nah, it's different.
It's still not going to work because Jimmy, like even when he gets in his way, and he's like terrorizing you on offense, he's also terrorizing you on defense. Luka this season is one of the worst defenders in the NBA. So I understand the star power and the numbers and MVP candidates.
They made the conference finals. He's a bad man.
Yeah, but nobody took them serious.
They should have.
Look,
stop bringing up old shit, G.
Luka's great to watch sometimes, and I also just hate watching the Mavericks play because it's so much Luka and nothing else.
When you have a chance,
I understand he's a superstar. He puts up these huge numbers and all that, but I don't think that style of play has ever won anything serious. And so, what you would have to give up Bam or Jimmy to get Luka, and I just don't ever want to do either one of
like
those.
Alex is like Tyler, Jovic, and all the picks. I go, that's not enough. I mean,
that's not enough.
And I'm saying you have a chance to get a top 5 player. You give Bam and like some amount of pick. Let's say Bam and a pick. Let's say that's what it starts at. That's a blue chip. I don't think you get a better player in return for Luka. Because obviously, I would rather trade Jimmy for Luka and keep Bam. I know that some people here may disagree on that, but obviously, no team's gonna want an aging guy on a supermax contract. So you kind of swap. You try to do that. If you have a chance at a top 5 talent, you have to
listen.
You have to
listen.
You have to.
If I'm Mickey Arison and Pat Riley, I'm asking Bam what day he wants his last game in Miami to be. Like what day, what year, so we can plan
There's only 3 guys I would trade Bam for. Only 3 players. And it's Giannis, and it's Jokic, and it's that fat boy in Dallas.
I'm not. No, Giannis, yes. I'll consider that. But just and Jokic, I don't know how old Jokic is, maybe. But
you fucking take Jokic, bro.
No.
You take
Jokic. For Luka, no way in hell. I think because what happens, I think what we're doing right now also, defense is undervalued. Defense is extremely undervalued, and Bam is – I'm comfortable calling him the best defender in the NBA just because even with Giannis, there's still places you would want Giannis to be. Like, there are teams that I don't say hunt. I would say they put Giannis in pick and roll to try to get him on the ball because they just prefer him there. The only place you prefer Bam to be is away from the play, and that's what's been happening a lot lately. So I don't think you give away a defensive talent like that who's also ascending that quickly offensively to where he's really a real threat on offense. I'm not giving that up for anybody except for Giannis. And so Luka just doesn't do it for me in that sense. If he wants to come in a few years as a free agent, we have the money, hell yeah. But to give Bam up, no.
Tiff?
I'm not watching that.
Damn.
If it was like you had no choice, fine. But if I got choices, and they ain't got to be 10, I could have 3, and I still wouldn't take him. If I got 3 choices, Luka's the 3rd option. I feel like number 1, you would have to because he is a bona fide superstar. Like people pay to go watch him.
He is him.
Like I'm not paying because I don't want to watch you dribble the ball like James Harden, but people pay to watch him. So he is a bona fide superstar because he sells tickets. But I don't like that style of ball. I also don't like watching people standing around in corners waiting.
You don't believe Spo can change that?
I think sometimes we got to stop thinking Spo is going to work every miracle that's out there. I feel like that's never going to happen until Luka decides He wants it to happen.
Nando in
Because-
chat says South Beach Luca gonna be crazy. He's gonna smoke
Nah,
every fucking cigarette in the city.
Cigarette, cigar, everything. Listen,
Man's gonna be made of vodka.
I just feel like that's just not who wants to watch that. And like I get it, but you're gonna have to overhaul your team so much to the point where you're still not gonna be a contender. So why would you even do that? Because it's
also
just you're gonna become the Miami Dallas. Like that's what you're gonna be, the Miami Dallas, because you're gonna have to give up so much to get him. You might have to get rid of Tyler and Bam to get him.
I wouldn't do it at that point.
And then take some of those guys who we
Would I
can't
not do
even
it? I
name
think I still do it. I'd ask for other. I'd like try to pluck some role guys. Like if that's
no shade. Jimmy ain't trying to play with Luka. We got to stop. Jimmy saw Luka's game. There's tape. He ain't trying.
We saw
He
you.
ain't trying to play that. We saw you.
There is film
Shout out to
of
Nikias.
what you did. Happy anniversary to
Yeah.
that.
Jimmy ain't trying to do that. Let's listen. They can figure it out some other kind of way. Truth be told, Luka didn't like playing with this guy. Luka didn't like playing with that guy. Luka didn't like playing with that guy.
But that was like that was Jimmy before he got here. That's a culture, baby. They still don't like
but
playing
they
with him.
did all they could, blew it up, brought in Kyrie. Nothing changed. Everybody wants to blame Kyrie. I don't see Luka being a better defender. Like you got to do things too to make the game better. I'm not happy. Well, take your fat ass to the gym, lose some weight, become a better defender. Oh, you're so big. Maybe come off the ball, get in the post. Like stop shooting.
He does post up a lot. He kills switches.
But that's after pounding the ball. But that's also pounding the ball 20 minutes.
Yeah, no.
Like you got to pick one. Pick a struggle.
And also, the Heat already have problems with ball movement on offense.
They got LeBron to get in the post. If Spo got LeBron to get, they'll get Luka to do it.
Yeah,
I'm in on it. I'm surprised.
Can I just tell you the truth? He whines like a bitch.
He does.
I don't want to watch it.
I talked to Siobhan about this. I feel I don't like watching him because it just feels racist.
I feel dirty.
I don't know. It's just, I don't like him, but he's fucking good. He's
he's great. He's great. He's amazing.
He's one of the 5 best basketball players in the world.
He's great on one side of the court.
He's still one of the 5 best.
At the end of the day, the Mavs are going to ask for Bam, and he's not somebody I'm getting rid of Bam for.
I don't know. Like I just if you can get a top 5 player who's still young, who's going to be here past Jimmy, I just think you do that. And I just think I love Bam, but Bam will never be that. You know, we talk about no ceiling and all that. Bam's never going to drop a 46-point triple-double and make it look easy. That's just,
but the thing is, I don't care about the numbers, though.
I don't care about the numbers,
but
Luka's that Dallas team stinks, and Luka's a monster. And Dallas, and by the way, like Luka put the fear of God in like the Kawhi Clippers when they were healthy, and they made the conference finals. They beat a Suns team. They beat the Suns that made the finals so bad that none of us took them seriously this year. He absolutely made them look so fucking ridiculous that nobody took them seriously, even themselves. He broke those people.
Gee, but we're talking about a buy-in that's got to be bigger than the buy-in Rodman had to do to join the Bulls. Like, it's got to be bigger than that.
Spo had people. I mean, listen, Spo got people to buy in when he had less cachet. You know what I mean? Like, I believe in him. I believe in Spo making it work.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect, and I have learned from my bad takes that don't let perfect be the enemy of good. If you have a chance at that kind of talent, you just don't. And by the way, I don't think this is happening. I think Mark Cuban would rather put a bullet through his head than give Miami Luka. He'd rather. This is no way that happens. But
also,
it's a fun thought exercise.
Yeah, I also just don't want to no more of the Heat can fix this about this player and they can fix that about that player. If we're gonna go after people who are already experienced and not these undrafted guys, let them be as complete as they can possibly be already. And I'm saying, Luka, look, you don't have to convince me Luka's an amazing player. I get it.
Luka. You just got to nudge him in the right directions.
Yeah, but
I don't see it.
Chat says I love my fat players.
But
I don't see it.
At the end of the day, look, like I said, you don't have to convince me that Luka's an amazing player. I know that, but I'm not coming off of Bam Adebayo for him.
I'm not doing Luka beat. So
Would you trade Bam for Embiid?
No.
I wouldn't.
Giannis
I
Antetokounmpo is the
wouldn't
only
because I
person I
hate
would consider.
Embiid's guts, but Embiid's obviously better than Bam, and I don't ever want to cheer for
Listen,
Embiid
I
a day in my life.
but if you're talking about to pair with Jimmy,
Yes.
then yeah.
I
But if you're just talking about to just trade and have, and you don't have Jimmy, then no.
No,
Like that,
I mean,
I don't want that.
You trade because you're trying to like win with Jimmy.
understand
No,
these are
to pair
superstar
with
players.
Yes, I would do that.
Look, I understand these are superstar players, but the stuff Bam brings that nobody on the world brings to a team, plus his age and plus like I'm. If it's not Giannis, I'm not even.
Is Giannis the list for you?
Giannis
It's
is the
never
list.
gonna be Giannis. And gee, remember when I told you spot on that he wasn't leaving Milwaukee?
You did.
I don't, because somebody told me he wasn't. It's never gonna be Giannis. So if you're like thinking about all the other ways, it's only gonna be somebody that's like an Embiid or a Luka.
yeah.
Like
Listen,
that's like
It's
it
only
says-
three players.
Well,
I wouldn't have done it
in-
for Durant. I wouldn't trade Bam for Durant because of Durant's age and injury
well,
history.
I was gonna say, look
Look.
at his injury history.
Yeah, and that's the only reason. I mean, man was just fucking warming up and slipped.
Right.
Which honestly, that clip was hilarious before I found out he got
The
hurt.
scream. The scream was hilarious. Did you hear the
Yes.
scream?
Yeah.
That was what was funny, but then I found out he was hurt, and I was like,
I mean, it's not like a bad injury, so it's still like a little bit funny, but like it was. He's just like I love KD. He's KD's a goofy dude and a troll, but I think listen, Kenny, I'm with you. I think that highly of Bam that I'm only moving him. I mean, realistically, like if I didn't hate Embiid with every fiber of my being, I'd probably also trade him for Embiid. But I'd only trade him for the two centers better than him, Giannis and Luka, and like that's it, bro. Like there's no.
And you ain't getting neither one.
Yeah.
So
So you're rolling with Bam.
Yeah, and like Tiff said, Giannis is never leaving Milwaukee, and so like I said, if I'm Pat Riley and Mickey Harrison, I'm asking Bam when he wants his last game to be, so I can print the shirts now, because he's not going nowhere. If it's up to me.
No, and I'm the same as you, and I'm like I want you to be our next UD unless Luka or one of these top 5 MVP candidates becomes available, Then it's I don't know if Wembanyama asks out in a couple years from Orlando. Let me tell you something. You guys, everybody in this audience, everybody in the basketball world, better pray to God that Orlando doesn't get Wembanyama. I don't want them or the Thunder. If one of those teams get that motherfucker, we're fucked. It's over. The Giannis party's over. The Embiid party, everybody's fucking over. If that dude goes out, they already scare me now. Imagine if they just get a little older and get that fucking French kid. It's a
That
wrap.
kid is gonna be nice.
I saw the clip circling around, and I saw the step back, I saw the miss, and I was like, all right, well, nice move, but he missed. Like 2 hours later, and then 2 hours later, I watched the whole thing, and he got the putback off his own step back three.
Oh.
Yes.
Like, all right.
we got NBA players that don't even follow their own shot.
We gotta hope he ends up in Houston or something. Like just somewhere where he'll never hurt us.
I don't want that for him either. I hate that team.
I don't want the struggle for him either.
Let's give him the Spurs. Is that okay?
Hell yeah. Go to San Antonio.
Go to San Antonio.
Yeah.
It'll take a while for him to I'm not gonna lie. It'd actually be fun if he ends up in Portland with Dame. Now that's bad for the.
I don't think that's bad enough.
That's bad for the agenda. What do you mean? Portland's 13th in the West.
Oh shit. Okay.
And then
I just assumed they were still good.
12 games under 500, Kenny.
And Dame is he resting the rest of the way? So
Oh yeah.
No, they're mathematically
I would
eliminated
love
from
that,
the
man.
plan.
yeah, just don't send that man to Houston and then James Harden go back to Houston. He gonna have that man eating sticky wings and looking at strippers. Don't do that.
Well, what would be worse? Would Harden in Miami be worse, or Luka in Miami for their habits?
Harden in Miami because
Harden.
no, Luka in New Orleans would be the worst possible.
Ooh,
I
Luka in New Orleans.
think if Harden was ever a Heat player, they need to ban him from 11.
He's not going to listen to that though.
No, he gonna go in there with a fake beard on.
Riley, the bald guy, the bald bodyguard on the Heat bench. Riley needs to station him at 11. To not let not let James Harden in here. Heatside asks, is Bam eligible for an extension next season? Bam already has an extension, buddy.
Yeah.
And that is kicking in.
He's not going nowhere.
Yeah, Bam,
He ain't getting he ain't signing no more checks. He got his. Let a couple of years pass through.
Yeah, no, Bam's extension, I believe. I'll tell you. I'll confirm it right now. I believe it kicks in next season. Bam's extension kicked in this year.
Kicked in this year.
Yeah, it was last year actually. It goes up to $37 million. I believe Tyler's kicks in next year, and Jimmy's kicks in. Jimmy's kicks in the following year. The year that Kyle's contract expires is when his Supermax kicks in. Tyler Hero, no, they have another. Okay, see, Andy Ellisberg knows what he's doing. So next 2022, 2023, let me see, 2023, 2024, and then we'll get out on this note. Tyler's extension kicks in 2024, 2025.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Also, Jimmy's extension kicks in then, which again, Andy Ellisberg is smart. Yeah, Jimmy's. Hold on, my Spotrack's not loading. I don't know why, but I believe that to be so. I do want to confirm before we go because I do think that my Spotrack's not working. So my cap sheet is not okay. 2023, 2024 update. Of course, it's not working.
It just must be a bitch to have to know you're gonna get all that money and have to wait a year.
Never mind. Tyler's extension kicks in 2023, 2024, and Jimmy has his estimate for $45 million.
What's my estimate?
That's a mighty fat contract. So shout out to them for getting the bag. Shout out to chat for sticking with us. We've reminisced about D-Wade, talked about fake trades, and talked about relevant on-court discourse that's going on. Remember, check
Luka looking like a beignet.
Tune in tomorrow for pre-gaming and MHB post-game show against the Pistons. Another pod on Wednesday where Brian and I hope to have the salary cap, new salary cap out so we can explain to you, the audience, what to expect with the new collective bargaining agreement. We'll break down all that stuff for you. We'll answer your questions live on stream. So hopefully it's Tiff, Kenny, I don't know if you know this. Executives don't have the cap yet. They're only learning it through like Shams' Twitter account.
That is hilarious.
That's ridiculous.
So we're hoping that it comes out and Larry Kuhn and other people can break it down and digest it. So Brian and I could read it and figure stuff out for you guys. And then hangover time on Thursday against Philadelphia 76ers. Welcome to the Haterade, ladies and gentlemen. Alpha's here to lead the charge against the fucking Sixers. We hate them. Hopefully they get a win that probably won't mean anything, but it'll feel good for us. Troppy Baby, if you want, go to Heat Pistons watch party at Tropical Distilleries in Miami tomorrow night. 5 Reasons throwing a watch party. Alex and Brady will be there. I unfortunately can't because I have to do a post-game show. If not, I would have been there. So it's a really fun environment. Check it out. They have great liquors and hang out with Ethan and Alex and Brady. Actually, Ethan's annoying because every time Kyle Lowry misses a shot, he would turn over and smile. Fucking or turn the ball over. Asshole. So check them out. Have a lot of fun. If not, tune into our post game tomorrow and our content for the rest of the week. And see y'all then.
Night.